Dear student, welcome back. In our last class, we discussed the trajectory of a projectile is parabola. That concept we learn. Not only that, we started with the concept like projectile motion. Under projectile motion, we learn few important terms required to understand the projectile motion. Along with that, we learn what is the trajectory of a projectile. At the end, we got the answer that trajectory of a projectile is parabola. We verified by using one simple derivation. That derivation is required for 3 marks or 5 marks that I already said. We'll do the continuation of this under projectile motion itself. Next important thing is nothing but expression for maximum height reached by projectile. Dear student, usually they will ask this question for 3 marks or 2 marks, and not only that, this expression is specially important for competitive exam as well as for annual exam. Related to this equation, they're going to ask the numerical in annual exam. Dear student, important thing is expression for maximum height reached by projectile is one of the important question for exam for 3 marks or 2 marks. Dear student, we already consider projectile motion like this. If I consider this one is the y-axis, this one is the x-axis, I consider this particular point is called point of projection. I denote it as O. O is the point of projection. Any particle is projected like this and path traced by projectile is like this. And this particle having initial velocity we consider as V0. V0 represent the initial velocity of that projectile. It makes an angle from the ground or x-axis is equal to theta. Is called angle of projection. Is called angle of projection. ಇಲ್ಲಿ theta ಅನ್ನೋದು angle of projection ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Again, O is the point of projection. Particle reached to a maximum height here. I call that particular point is A. And is reached to this particular point here, final point, I call that point is P. Particle cover a path like this, OAP, and this trajectory is parabola. I already told trajectory is nothing but path. Path traced by a projectile is parabola. That we already learned. Not only that, we verified. Adanu verify madideve, correct? Again, remember this initial velocity V0 is the initial velocity at a point O itself. Is in between x and y axis. It makes an angle theta. Automatically V0 is a vector quantity. Is resolved into how many component? 2 component. First component is horizontal component. We consider like this, V0 cos theta. Second component is vertical component. We denote like this, V0 sin theta. Here V0 cos theta and V0 sin theta are the 2 component made by this initial velocity V0 at a point O. Depending on angle, theta is called angle of projection. Here V0 cos theta is a horizontal component, V0 sin theta is the vertical component. Remember, I already explained clearly in a previous derivation itself, throughout journey from O to P, throughout journey, one component called V0 cos theta is also called horizontal component, remains same. Throughout journey, horizontal component V0 cos theta remains same. Only vertical component V0 sin theta going to change. At this particular point, horizontal component is V0 cos theta itself. At this particular point, horizontal component is V0 cos theta itself. At this particular point also, horizontal component is V0 cos theta itself. Remember, throughout journey, horizontal component V0 cos theta remains same or constant. By considering that concept itself, we consider along x-axis or along horizontal, acceleration of a projectile is equal to 0. We already learned in previous derivation. ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ? ರೈಟ್. ಅಗೇನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಏನು ಕೇಳಿದರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಹೈಟ್ ರೀಚ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್. ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್, ವಿ ನೋ ದಿ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಹೈಟ್. ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೈಟ್ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಹೈಟ್, that you have to calculate. Here, this particular height we call it as maximum height reached by the projectile. This particular height we call it as maximum height reached by the projectile. You have to get the expression for maximum height reached by the projectile. To get the expression for maximum height reached by the projectile, we have to think about either upward path or you have to think about downward path. Here you already know particle is moving upward as well as particle is moving in downward direction. If I count the upward path, acceleration I will take it as minus g. If you get the downward path, acceleration you have to take it as what is that? Plus g, depending on a sign convention. Upward path, nanu acceleration anna minus g anta koltene, acceleration due to gravity. Downward path ige acceleration I will take it as plus g, acceleration due to gravity. Dear student, here initial velocity along here, which you have to take along vertical, is equal to v naught. What is that? Sin theta, correct? Initial velocity along vertical is v naught sin theta, because to get the maximum height, particle should be in which direction? Vertical direction. We say that upward direction. That's why initial velocity along vertical is equal to v naught sin theta. Again, for upward motion or movement, acceleration A is equal to, I will consider as minus g. If it is downward, you have to take plus g. Distance covered or height reached, I will take it as x is equal to h maximum height reached by the particle. Next, final velocity v is equal to, what is that? 0. We already learned, I clearly mention here, particle is moving in which direction? Upward direction is along vertical. Again, I am not bothered about horizontal component, I want to bother about vertical component. Remember, at the point A, velocity is there. What is that velocity? V naught cos theta is not a vertical term, it is the horizontal term. Here, vertical component, that's why you may take it as Vy. You may assume this one as Vy also. Here Vy, vertical component of velocity at a point A, is equal to 0 in upward direction. Is that clear? Right. By using these data, we have to think about expression for maximum height reached by the projectile. Again, we know that V square is equal to V naught square plus 2ax. This formula you already learned. That is v is nothing but final velocity. I assumed that final velocity as vy, it becomes vy square. Initial velocity is equal to what I consider here? V naught sin theta, it becomes V naught sin theta whole square plus 2 into acceleration in upward direction along vertical is equal to, what is that here? Minus g, and height reached or displacement is equal to h maximum, Here value for Vy is equal to how much here? 0 is equal to V naught square sin square theta. Here plus into minus, it becomes minus, it becomes minus 2g into, what is that here? H maximum. That becomes 2g h maximum is equal to V naught square sin square theta by arranging the above equation. That becomes h maximum is equal to V naught square sin square theta divided by 2g. Dear student, is the formula for maximum height reached by the projectile. Remember, here this point to this point is the maximum height reached by the projectile. H maximum is equal to V naught square sin square theta divided by 2g is the maximum height reached by the projectile. Understood this equation? Dear student, depending on the value of theta, we can say that maximum height reached is maximum or minimum. Remember, if I take theta is equal to 0, it is a note. No need to write in exam, it is the note. If I take theta is equal to 0, is it projectile is projected? No, theta itself is 0. I am not projecting the object. Project madbeka, there will be angle of projection. Theta itself is equal to 0. There is no angle of projection. Automatically it not reach the maximum height. Automatically, what is the value for sine 0? Is equal to 0. Maximum height reached by the projectile is equal to what is that? 0. Particle is not projected itself. Second important thing, if I consider theta is equal to 90 degree, that means particle or projectile is projected along y-axis, vertically upward. Then you have to take theta is equal to 90 degree. If theta is equal to 90 degree, automatically maximum height reached by the projectile. Here, sine 90 is equal to 1. Answer for this becomes V0 square divided by 2g is a value for maximum height reached by the projectile if theta is equal to 90 degree. Is that clear? Right. Dear student, move on to the next important derivation is nothing but expression for time of flight of projectile. Dear student, time of flight is nothing but it is a total time taken by the projectile to complete the entire journey or total journey. It is a total time required for entire or complete journey of a projectile. We call it as time of flight. Dear student, diagram is like this. We already learn it is a y-axis. It is the x-axis. It is a point of projection. Particle is projectile. Trajectory of a projectile is parabola that you will learn. This particular point is O. This particular point is A. And this particular height we call it as maximum height reached by the projectile. Remember, at this particular point, the initial velocity of a projectile is V0. It makes an angle theta. Angle of projection. This initial velocity is a vector quantity is in between x and y axis is resolved into how many component? Two component. One is horizontal component V0 cos theta and the one is vertical component we call it as V0 sin theta. There are two component, horizontal and vertical. Again, at this particular point, highest point, we call it as maximum height reached by the particle or projectile. Vertical component of velocity of that particle becomes what is that? 0. That you learn. But a horizontal component remains constant. It is V0 cos theta. That is theory you learn. I already explained. E point alli horizontal component V0 cos theta ne irutte. But vertical component of velocity of that particle or projectile is 0. Now the particle reached to this particular point. I call it as P. Starting point is O. End point is P. O in the P tanaka the projectile moving. Is that clear? We call it as complete journey. I assume that time taken to upward movement we call it as O in the A. It is T. Time required to move from O to A is T. Similarly, time required to move from A to P is also T. You learn clearly in a motion in a straight line topic, time of ascent that should be equal to time of descent. Time of ascent and descent are equal if you neglect the air resistance. Gaaliyanna ಅಥವಾ air resistance ಅನ್ನು neglect ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ time of ascent is equal to time of descent. Now upward motion, time required is T from O to A. Downward A to P, time required is T itself. Time of ascent is equal to time of descent. Dear student, the definition of time of flight is nothing but it is a total time required for complete journey of a projectile from O to P. It is a total time required for complete journey of a projectile. We call it as projectile motion. Automatically, time of flight TF denoted as TF is equal to 2 times t. It is a total time taken. Upward is t, time of ascent. Downward, time of descent is also t. Total time required for complete journey during projectile motion we call task. Time of flight is equal to 2t. Automatically, time of flight Tf is equal to 2 times t is a formula for time of flight. You have to get the general equation for time of flight. I assume the upward motion. Upward motion is along vertical. Upward motion is along vertical. Initial velocity is equal to V naught. What is that? Sin theta. Along vertical, initial velocity is V naught sin theta. Along horizontal, initial velocity is V naught cos theta, that we learn. But along horizontal, throughout journey, horizontal component is same, acceleration is equal to 0. Only vertical component going to change. Adukoskara, I assume the upward motion only along vertical. Initial velocity is V naught sin theta. Next, acceleration. A is equal to minus g for which direction? Upward direction. For upward direction, A is equal to minus g. Not only that, final velocity at a point A of a projectile is called final velocity for upward motion. Final velocity Vy is equal to 0. Vy is equal to 0, and by considering this, we have to get the expression for time of flight is nothing but total time required for complete journey, that we call as time of flight. Dear student, we learn kinematic equation. By considering kinematic equation, or we know that V is equal to V naught plus AT. This formula you learn under motion in a straight line topic. V is the final velocity, V naught is the initial velocity, A is the uniform acceleration, T is the time taken. Again here, this V, final velocity is equal to Vy. Initial velocity of a projectile is equal to, what is that here? V naught sin theta along vertical. A is equal to minus g here. Time taken is equal to t. Again, final velocity of a projectile in upward journey at a point A is equal to 0. That I already given here. By considering this, final velocity is equal to 0, it becomes V naught sin theta minus gt. On simplification, we got gt is equal to V naught sin theta. Gt is equal to V naught sin theta. Therefore, t is equal to V naught sin theta divided by g is the formula for time taken by the projectile to move from O to A for upward motion. For downward, again time taken is t itself, because you learn clearly time of ascent is equal to time of descent. Correct? Time of ascent is equal to time of descent. Andre, this time O to A to P time is t. Both the time are equal if you neglect the A resistance. Therefore, time of flight is equal to 2t. Total time of required for complete journey 2 times t, that I already given. T is equal to V naught sin theta divided by g. Substitute there. Therefore, TF, time of flight, is equal to 2 into. Here, value for t is equal to V naught sin theta divided by g. It becomes V naught sin theta divided by g. Dear student, is the expression for time of flight. Time of flight is equal to 2 times V naught sin theta divided by g. Dear student, keep one point clearly in your mind. This derivation is also one of the important question for exam, mainly for 2 or 3 marks. Not only that, related to this equation they ask maximum time. Tumba sala numericals kelidare in a competitive exam, not only in a competitive exam, even in a annual exam also. Adukoskara ee formula tumba important agutte exam purpose ge. Not only that, for a knowledge point also, go through this formula again. Not only check the formula or by heart the formula, depending on the terms like V naught, theta, g, what happens to time of flight, that is also important. And up to here you have to write in an exam for 2 or 3 marks, and if you want to write the diagram you can write, otherwise no need to write. Diagram barile bekantenilla, you have to write these steps, and again you have to arrive this equation at the end. 2 V naught sin theta divided by g is the formula for time of flight. We'll discuss few important note here. As like maximum height reached by the projectile, I mentioned it to note, depending on angle of projection. Similarly, illisa, depending on angle of projection theta, we have to think about whether the time of flight is maximum or minimum. Dear student, if I assume if theta is equal to 0 degree, angle of projection is equal to 0, automatically time of flight, is it possible? No. Upward and downward, not possible. Particle is strictly along horizontal, strictly along x-axis. Automatically particle is not projected itself. Automatically time of flight is equal to 0. It is not called as a time of flight, it is a time of journey. Total time required to move from one point to another point, that's it. It is not a time of flight. It is not projected because angle of projection is equal to 0. Next important thing, if theta is equal to 90 degree, that indicates that particle is projected vertically upward. Automatically we call it as a one dimension motion along a straight line. Theta 90 degree exactly male bisakidare. Automatically time of flight becomes maximum. It becomes 2 V naught divided by g. Sin 90 is equal to 1 is a formula for time of flight. Is that clear? Yes, is one of the important thing for exam.